Welcome back to Celeb Spill Corner, where the tea is always hot, the drama never stops, and the truth always comes out. Today, we are talking about a fight that has been going on for more than 10 years, Rick Ross and 50 Cent. But this time, it is not just about music. Rick Ross has always acted like he is too rich and too powerful to care, but now his own baby mama has shared some secrets that could change everything, and believe me, it is worse than anyone ever thought. Rick Ross has built his whole image around being a boss. He is always showing off his money and power, but now people are saying he is not as strong as he looks. They say he cannot stop thinking about one enemy who will not go away. And when Ross finally decided to fight back, it was not just to look strong, it was to save himself. But how did this all begin? You will not believe it. It was not because of a diss track. It was not because of a business deal that went wrong. It was not even a fight in the streets. It all started with a look. Yes, just one glance back in 2008 at the BET Awards. Rick Ross looked at 50 Cent, and for some reason, he decided he had a problem with him. But 50 Cent? He had no idea there was even an issue. Later, he even said he did not remember seeing Ross at the event. But Ross, he took that as a sign of pure disrespect, and we all know one thing. If there is one person you should never start a fight with, it is 50 Cent. He does not just win feuds, he destroys his enemies completely, leaving them with no chance to fight back. From the moment Ross decided to start this war, 50 Cent started playing like a chess master, making sure Ross would never recover from what was coming. Now, let us talk about what Ross' baby mama just revealed and why this so-called boss has been looking over his shoulder ever since. Rick Ross was at the highest point of his career. He was living the life of a powerful rap star. He had 2 platinum albums, his Maybach music brand was growing, and he was building his image as the biggest boss in hip-hop. In his mind, he was on top, strong, respected, and even feared. But then, one moment changed everything. At the 2008 BET Awards, Ross took one look at 50 Cent, and suddenly things were different. Maybe it was paranoia, maybe it was his big ego, but for some reason, Ross convinced himself that 50 Cent had a problem with him. Ross felt disrespected, and instead of ignoring it, he saw it as the perfect chance to go after one of the most ruthless figures in hip-hop. That was his first big mistake. Here is the crazy part. 50 Cent had no idea what Ross was even talking about. In later interviews, he openly said he did not even remember seeing Ross that night. That is how little he cared. But Ross, he took that as a sign of disrespect and ran with it, and that is when everything started to fall apart. What Ross did not understand was that 50 Cent does not do small fights. He does not just reply with a diss track and move on. When he goes to war, he destroys everything. He plays chess, not checkers. Ross thought he was starting some drama for entertainment, that he would get his name next to one of the biggest rappers in the world, and that it would help his brand grow. But he had no idea what he had just stepped into. Rick Ross did not just throw a few words in an interview. He went straight for the attack. He did not hold back. He released Mafia Music, a diss track that was not just about showing off. It was personal. Ross aimed at one of 50 Cent's darkest moments, the 2008 house fire that could have ended in tragedy. At that time, 50's ex-girlfriend and the mother of his child, Shenica Tompkins, had already spoken out. She blamed 50 for the fire that burned down her home, while 6 people were inside. The authorities never proved 50 was responsible, but the rumors never stopped. Ross knew exactly what he was doing. He was not just bothering 50 Cent. He was going straight for the most painful wound. The moment Ross rapped about that fire, the fight became serious. This was not just some fun rap battle. Ross was bringing up real-life pain, trying to make 50 Cent look like a monster who would do anything to silence his enemies. But there was one big problem. 50 Cent was not the kind of person to ignore that kind of attack, and Ross, he did not stop there. Feeling confident and untouchable, he kept pushing forward, not knowing what was coming next. Rick Ross did not back down. He went even further, acting like he had already won before the fight even started. He gave interviews where he showed off, making it seem like 50 Cent was old news and that he was the new king of the streets. But Ross forgot one very important thing. 50 Cent does not just battle with words, he destroys reputations. He was not going to drop one diss track and move on. He was going to break Rick Ross down piece by piece, exposing everything Ross never wanted the world to know. And when 50 Cent started digging, he found something that changed everything. "I am going to ruin your life, bro. I am going to mess up your life." That was 50 Cent's message. He was not just replying. He was going for complete destruction. His first move, exposing who Rick Ross really was. Ross had built his entire career on the image of being a street boss, a man who came from the struggle, made big moves, and lived like a true kingpin. But 50 had something that could destroy it all. Proof that it was a lie. Then the internet exploded. Pictures of Rick Ross in a correctional officer uniform started spreading everywhere, and just like that, everything Ross worked for was on the line. Pictures of Rick Ross wearing a correctional officer uniform started spreading everywhere. The same man who rapped about running the streets was actually working for the system. Instead of selling anything, he was handling prison paperwork. But 50 Cent did not just let the internet do the job. He made sure everyone knew the truth. He called Ross out in interviews, laughed at him, and posted those pictures all over social media. They were everywhere, on diss tracks, in memes, and in posts. It was bad. Ross's whole image, the idea that he was a street king, was falling apart, and 50 Cent was not done yet. He wanted more proof, so he went to someone who knew Ross better than most, his own baby mama, Tia Kemp. And Tia, she was more than ready to talk. She sat down with 50 Cent and told everything. She showed a completely different side of the man people thought was a boss. According to her, Rick Ross was not really living like a king. He was pretending. She said he was renting cars, borrowing jewelry, and staying in fancy houses that were not even his. Behind the scenes, it was all fake. Behind the scenes, his so-called empire was built on nothing but illusions. And if that was not bad enough, Tia did not hold back. She confirmed what people had been whispering for years. The rumors about Ross being a correctional officer were 100% true. And where was Rick Ross during all of this? Silent, and that silence said everything. There was nothing he could do to erase the truth. 50 Cent had done what nobody thought was possible. The internet had already taken over, and the damage could not be undone. The Officer Ricky jokes were everywhere. Every meme, every diss track, every comment was dragging Ross down. His credibility was destroyed, his brand was being laughed at across the hip-hop world. But if you thought 50 Cent was done, think again. That was when 50 took things to a whole new level. But this time, he made a mistake. Instead of just ruining Ross's image, he decided to humiliate him on a personal level. He leaked a private tape involving another one of Ross's baby mamas, Lastonia Leviston, and this move backfired badly. Ross may have laughed off the Officer Ricky scandal, but this was something else entirely. But Lastonia was not having it. She took 50 Cent to court and hit him with a huge lawsuit for emotional distress, and when it was all over, 50 lost. That lawsuit cost him where it hurt the most, his wallet. The court ordered him to pay $5 million. For the first time in this whole battle, 50 actually took a loss. The financial hit was so big that he had to file for bankruptcy. It was the one mistake that cost him in a major way. Meanwhile, Rick Ross kept moving forward. He kept dropping music, stayed away from the drama, and acted like none of it even bothered him. And surprisingly, the fans started moving on too. The Officer Ricky jokes were not as strong as before. Yes, his reputation took a hit, but he still had his music, his fans, and his empire kept growing. Fast forward to today, and just when people thought this feud was over, Tia Kemp made a shocking return. She went live on Instagram and let the world know that Rick Ross is still afraid of 50 Cent. And why? Because 50 Cent knows too much. Tia did not hold back. She claimed that Rick Ross had secrets, deep dark secrets, that he had been desperately trying to keep hidden. And just when things seemed like they could not get any messier, they did. Old photos from Tia's 2009 Smooth magazine cover shoot resurfaced, setting the internet on fire all over again. In the entertainment world, baby mama drama is nothing new. But these pictures? They were on a whole different level. It was not just about what Tia was wearing, a barely there lace set, sheer sparkles, and fiery red heels. It was about who was behind the camera, and that person? None other than 50 Cent. Yes, Rick Ross's biggest enemy was the one personally directing the whole shoot. 50 Cent was not just helping Tia get on the cover. He was making sure Rick Ross knew exactly who made it happen. And if that was not enough to make Ross furious, Smooth Magazine made things even messier. The headline? Where's the beef? But the real dagger? The guest editor for the issue was none other than 50 Cent himself. That was next-level petty. Just when people thought the drama had finally cooled off, these two found new ways to take shots at each other. And now, the beef has taken a wild new turn. The latest issue? Rick Ross linking up with Big Meech after his release from prison. And if you know anything about 50 Cent, you know this did not sit right with him.
Why?
Because 50 Cent is the executive producer of the BMF TV series, a show that kept the Black Mafia family legacy alive while Big Meech was behind bars. So, for Meech to walk out of prison and immediately align himself with Rick Ross? That felt like betrayal. And you better believe 50 Cent wasted no time reacting. He jumped on Instagram and dropped a shady post, making sure everyone knew exactly how he felt. 50 Cent did not just call out Big Meech. He went straight for the jugular. He posted a giant rat with a caption, "I think I am Big Meech, huh?" The level of disrespect was unmatched. But that was not even the worst part. In the caption, 50 made one thing very clear. Meech had made a huge mistake by distancing himself from one person, Tammy Cowens. Who is Tammy? Glad you asked, because this is where things take an even wilder turn. Tammy was not just Big Meech's assistant. She was his business partner, the one who handled important matters behind the scenes. But here's the twist. She allegedly flipped and became an FBI informant. And just when it seemed like the drama could not get any crazier, guess who jumped into the mess, laughing at how bothered 50 Cent was over Meech taking a picture with Rick Ross? You guessed it, Rick Ross himself. The back and forth between 50 Cent and Rick Ross has never stopped. But if there's one person who enjoys clowning Ross just as much as 50 does, it is his own baby mama, Tia Kemp. And this time, she took things to a whole new level. Tia dragged Rick Ross straight into the Diddy scandal, claiming he was involved in those infamous freak-off parties. Tia did not just drop hints. She went all in. She straight up told Rick Ross that he was knee-deep in the same shady mess that got Diddy caught up in those federal trafficking charges. She mocked him, saying, "Diddy throws all these parties. So where is Rick Ross now? Why is he not over there showing love to his good friend Sean?" The shade was heavy, and she did not stop there. She made fun of Ross for suddenly going quiet, calling him out for acting like he had no idea what was happening. But this was not the first time she had exposed him. Tia went on Instagram Live, clowning Ross for staying silent about Diddy's situation. She told him straight up, "You are real loud when it comes to rap beef. But now, when things get serious, you have nothing to say." She made it clear Ross might not want to talk about it, but she was not going to let it slide. Tia did not just talk. She brought proof. She was not afraid to name names, and just when it seemed like things could not get any crazier, she took it even further. She did not just say Rick Ross was guilty by association. She strongly suggested that he was directly involved in ordering hits on people. And then she made a bold claim. She said she was about to take action. She planned to blow the whistle and bring federal agents straight to his doorstep. But then, things got even darker. Tia dropped a shocking statement that left fans stunned. She hinted at a murder. She brought up the name Miss Carroll and suggested that Ross had a direct connection to the tragedy. If you are wondering who Miss Carroll was, Tia claimed she was murdered after leaving her mother's house and that her death was linked to Ross and his crew. And she did not stop there. She also mentioned a man who was shot right in front of a black house, suggesting another possible link to Ross's circle. Then she took her claims to the microphone. In an episode of Kesha Please, Tia spilled even more details, revealing 10 years worth of secrets that had been kept hidden. Tia did not hold back. She started exposing things that nobody saw coming. She claimed that Rick Ross had way more kids than people thought, 9 or 10 in total. She said most people only knew about the ones they could Google, but there were others he never talked about. And then she dropped another surprise. One of his children, according to her, looked just like Drake and was from a Russian woman. She laughed, wondering why Ross had not introduced that child to the world.